It was Christmas Eve in London, and magic wove itself through every street lamp and storefront window. The city glimmered as though it wore a gown of lights, each bulb shimmering against the soft snowfall that drifted from a starless sky. Carolers clustered around lamp-posts, their voices rising in familiar harmonies that echoed off the ancient brick facades. Couples walked hand in hand down cobbled lanes, their breath puffing white clouds in the chilled air. The scent of roasting chestnuts curled around every corner, mingling with the spicy perfume of mulled wine spun from secret family recipes and poured in small paper cups that warmed cold fingers. Even in this festival of joy, though, something deeper waited just beneath the surface, a life-changing moment poised to unfold. In the midst of it all, a sleek, black limousine slid through the throng. Inside, in the plush back seat, sat Angelina Jolie, draped in a white silk gown that seemed to glow from within. Over her shoulders lay a fur coat the color of moonlight, each strand soft enough to catch stray snowflakes and hold them like fragile crystals. Wrapped in elegance from head to toe, she could have been mistaken for an apparition of winter itself as she gazed through the tinted window at the throngs below. The Unity Christmas Village, an open-air market alive with laughter, twinkling stalls decked in holly and pine, and families lost in the season's enchantment, pulled at her heart. She leaned forward, eager to breathe in every sight, sound, and scent. Her assistant, Clara, sat beside her in a tailored black coat and pressed gloves, checking the time on an elegant gold watch. "We're running short on time, Miss Jolie," she said, her voice a blend of concern and poise. Even in the back of a limousine, the schedule for the Alexandra Palace gala loomed like an unbreakable chain of appointments. But Angelina's lips curved in a teasing smile, her dark eyes alive with a spark Clara had learned to recognize as the prelude to a delightful detour. "There's always time for a little Christmas spirit," Angelina replied softly. "Please, let's stop by the market. Just for a moment." Clara glanced at the driver, then at the wintry scene beyond the glass. With a small nod, the driver guided the car down a narrow side street, weaving past vendors closing up their stalls and families carrying brightly wrapped gifts. Snow crunched under each wheel as the limousine came to a halt near a cluster of lampposts twined with garlands. Angelina eased out onto the pavement, brushing one hand over her coat as bodyguards flanked her. The cold air bit at her cheeks, and for the first moment in weeks, her mind emptied of scripted speeches and gala guest lists. She stepped into the heart of the Unity Christmas Village, feeling swept up in the current of its festive tide. Around her, towering evergreen trees heaved under the weight of snow, lights twinkling like captured stars. Vendors called out in cheerful tones, offering handcrafted ornaments carved from wood or blown from glass, hand-knit scarves in candy cane stripes, exotic spices and teas, and pastries that glowed with sugar and cinnamon. Children darted through the crowd, cheeks pink and eyes wide, clutching mugs of hot chocolate frothing with marshmallows. Brass bands launched into Winter Wonderland, the brassy notes harmonizing with the clip-clop of horse-drawn carriages making their rounds. Every detail of the market felt carefully curated to evoke the purest joy of the season, and Angelina inhaled it all as though tasting it for the first time. Yet amid the happy chaos, something small and vulnerable captured her attention. Not a glittering stall or a roaring fire pit, but a single figure standing apart from the throng, a little girl wearing a frayed Santa Claus costume several sizes too big. The girl's red coat hung limp on her thin frame, the white fur trim faded and matted. Her Santa hat slipped over one ear, and tiny hands gripped a wicker basket brimming with homemade cakes and sweets. With each breath, her thin voice trembled through the din, freshly baked cakes. Sweet and warm. "Help me, please." Angelina paused, her breath catching in her throat. Curiosity and concern mingled in her chest like bittersweet chocolate. She wove through the crowd toward the girl, Clara trailing a few steps behind. The little girl's bright blue eyes met Angelina's gaze for an instant, eyes full of quiet determination, yet shadowed by unshed tears. Angelina knelt, setting her gloved hand gently against the snow-dusted ground for support. "Hello there," she said, her voice soft enough to rise above the market's roar yet gentle as falling snow. "What are you doing here on your own, sweetheart?" The girl flinched, as though expecting a sharp rebuke rather than kindness, but then her expression flickered with hope. "My name is Sophia," she said, voice trembling like a prayer. "My mama is sick, and I have to earn money for medicine. Please, try one of my cakes." Angelina's heart clenched. Here, at the intersection of glamour and real need, she realized how sheltered her own world could be. She lifted a small cake from the basket, its powdered sugar dusting smudged around the edges, and offered a gold coin. "Thank you," she said, pushing the coin toward Sophia's hand. "God bless you." Sophia's face brightened for a moment, the sliver of joy moving her lips into a shy smile. "God bless you," she whispered back, her small fingers trembling as she placed the cake into a paper napkin from Angelina's purse. Her gaze dropped to the coin in her hand, turning it over as if it were alchemy itself. Before Angelina could speak again, a harsh voice cracked through the gentle din, "Sophia." The girl gasped and froze. A tall, gaunt man emerged from the crowd, coat collar turned up against the snow, breath billowing in furious clouds. His eyes burned with anger as he stormed toward them. "What do you think you're doing?" he spat, gripping Sophia's arm roughly. Angelina rose to her feet in an instant, skirts swishing like a shield around her. "Stop," she said, her voice firm but calm. "Leave her alone." The man's glare flicked to Angelina, and for a moment his fury caught in his throat, as though recognizing her voice or her presence. Then spite hardened his features. "Who are you?" he sneered. "This is private business. Mind your own affairs, lady." Angelina's insides froze at the sight of Sophia's eyes, wide and terrified, shimmering with unshed tears. She knelt beside the girl again, placing a gloved hand on her shoulder. "Sophia, are you hurt?" she asked, her tone urgent beneath the glittering holiday facade. "What's happened here?" Sophia's bottom lip quivered. She looked from Angelina to the man, her uncle, he told passers-by, then back at Angelina. He won't let me go home unless I sell every single cake," she whispered, voice cracking. "If I don't make enough coins, I can't see my mother. She's so sick, Mississippi." A shudder ran through her small frame. "He says if I don't earn enough, she'll have no medicine." Angelina's heart pounded. She glanced at the man, his jaw clenched, fists bruised from months of fierce control. The festival lights blurred as anger flared inside her. "He's lying," she said, voice low but unyielding. "You don't have to do this, Sophia. I won't let him hurt you." The man lunged at Sophia, but Angelina stepped between them, pressing her arm across his chest. "Back off," she said, eyes flashing. Now. Her sudden presence, a renowned actress, a humanitarian, was disarming. A hush fell over nearby shoppers as they watched the confrontation unfold. The man hesitated, then shoved Angelina's arm aside. "You got no business here," he growled. "Get back in your fancy car and let me handle my niece." That was the last straw. Angelina, her heart crackling with protective fury, reached for her phone. "I'm calling the police," she warned. The man's face blanched as her fingers dialed 6 quick digits. He realized he was trapped between the vigilance of a crowd and the authority of law. In less than 2 minutes, though to Sophia it felt like an eternity, a squad of officers in navy uniforms arrived, slipping through the cluster of stall tables behind them. There were hushed murmurs of astonishment as they surrounded the men. Angelina explained the situation in clipped sentences, her voice unwavering. The officers approached the man, handcuffing him as he sputtered and protested. Nearby stall owners stepped forward to confirm they'd seen Sophia alone selling cakes under coercion. One vendor, a kindly baker named Mr. Clark, handed an officer a crumpled napkin with Sophia's handwritten sign, "Help my mama, cakes for sale." Another vendor added, "She's been here since dawn." The men forced her out in the freezing cold. Witnesses were many, the man's protests dissolved into bitter silence as he was led away. Sophia watched in awe, her small chest heaving with relief. A female officer knelt beside her, taking her hand. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" she asked gently, voice soft as falling snow. Angelina crouched beside Sophia too, brushing a strand of hair from the girl's face. "You're safe now," she whispered. "No one's going to make you sell another cake." Tears welled and spilled down Sophia's cheeks, glistening in the glow of market lights. She threw her arms around Angelina's waist, burying her face in the silk skirt. Angelina, unprepared for the wave of emotion, wrapped the girl in her fur coat and held her tight. For a long moment, the bustling market fell away, there was only the warmth radiating between them. Clara hovered a few paces behind, cell phone in hand. She glanced at Angelina, a question in her eyes. Angelina shook her head, resolute. Clara slipped the phone back into her clutch and stepped forward to help shepherd Sophia away from the crowd. The next scenes unfolded in rapid succession, a police car idling at the edge of the market, officers talking quietly with witnesses, the abuser led into the back of a squad car. Meanwhile, Sophia's mother, Claire Miller, lay in a nearby hospital, her condition precarious from weeks of untreated illness. Angelina refused to leave until she had seen Sophia's mother safely in the care of compassionate doctors. At the hospital's reception desk, late-night staff welcomed Angelina with astonished gratitude. Within minutes, a thoughtful nurse escorted them to a small room where Claire lay in a single bed, hooked to an IV drip and wrapped in blankets. Her hair lay flat on the pillow, and her cheeks were sunken, but her eyes brightened when she saw her daughter by her side. Sophia rushed over, leaning across the rails to embrace her mother, tears of relief and love mingling between them. Angelina stood back, listening as mother and daughter shared "You're okay" whispers. A doctor emerged, an elderly man with soft eyes, and introduced himself to Angelina. "Ms. Jolie, I understand you brought this young lady in. We'll do everything we can for her mother. It's pneumonia, serious but treatable." Angelina nodded, relief flooding her. "Thank you for seeing her tonight," she said, voice thick. "I'll cover every expense needed. She shouldn't have faced this alone." The doctor smiled kindly. "She'll get well. Now she has someone who cares." As nurse and doctor conferred, Angelina turned to Clara. "Make arrangements for Sophia and her daughter to stay in a safe place tonight. And contact child services," she instructed quietly. Clara nodded, already pressing numbers on her phone. Angelina stepped back toward the hospital window, gazing out at the Christmas lights that glowed like beacons in the late hour. She felt a new meaning to this holiday, the promise of rescue, of second chances. Long after the gala at Alexandra Palace had ended, after the applause had faded and the champagne flutes lay empty, Angelina stayed by Sophia's side. She arranged for a trusted foster family, friends of a long-time foundation, to welcome mother and daughter into a warm, decorated home. The foster parents, Mr. and Mrs. Dawson, greeted them with stuffed stockings and hot cocoa, tears in their eyes at the resilience of the little family. Before dawn, Angelina slipped quietly away, leaving a note and enough resources to cover all medical bills, therapy sessions, and schooling for Sophia. She'd orchestrated a private fund through her charitable foundation, an anonymous gift to ensure the family would need nothing. Yet in her own heart, she carried something far greater than any donation, the knowledge that she could step beyond glamour and celebrity to offer real, immediate compassion, and that one act of kindness had changed the course of 2 lives forever. On Christmas morning, Sophia awoke to sunlight filtering through frosted windows, her mother's steady breathing beside her. The stockings the Dawsons had hung held small treasures, woolen gloves, a teddy bear, a book of poems. In the corner, a Christmas tree glowed with gentle lights, ornaments hand-painted by Sophia herself. She gasped in wonder, clutching a glossy note signed simply, "A friend who believes in miracles." At school later that day, Sophia told her classmates, "It's Christmas every day now." And though none mentioned celebrity names, every child knew her story, how a princess of the silver screen had become an angel in disguise. As for Angelina, she spent Christmas Day quietly, reflecting before a crackling fire in her London townhouse. She paused a moment at the window, thin flakes drifting down, children's laughter rising from the street, and smiled. The gala invitations and red carpets would return soon enough, but in the gentle hush of Christmas morning, she found a truth deeper than any spotlight. The greatest gift we give is a moment that changes a life, saving hope where despair once stood. And so, amid the glittering lights of London's Christmas Eve, a small girl's dream was rekindled, a mother's life spared, and a reminder was cast upon the world that the true spirit of the season lives not in opulence or grand festivities, but in acts of compassion, courage, and love. In the snow-draped city, beneath the glow of 1,000 lanterns, the miracle of Christmas carried on, quietly, tenderly, and forever onward in 2 lives transformed. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more short stories.